I'm on a mission to get to 100 crater points in Geometry Dash, and I want to do something big to make it happen. And that's why I decided to set aside everything for a full week and make a level every single day for 7 days straight. Here's the thing though, I knew that just doing that was going to be too easy. After all, I could just make a simple RobTop styled level that's 30 seconds long every single day and be done in 2 hours. So I set a few challenges for myself. Number 1, I need to at least attempt to make every level feature-worthy in quality, the second tier above a star rating. Number 2, each level needs to be at least 1 minute long in length. Number 3, at least one of the levels has to be at least 2 minutes long in length, or XL, and another one of the levels must be a demon. Number 4, each level must be started from scratch every day, and I have to have every level uploaded by 11:59 that night. Number 5, I have to stream the entire process on my Twitch and YouTube channel every day. And just to make things even harder for myself, I purposely chose a bunch of songs that would have high-speed drop parts to prevent myself from making a bunch of slow one-part levels every day. I also tried to make every level get progressively harder in difficulty, with the first level being an easy 2-star and the last level being an easy demon. This challenge was heavily inspired by Dansman's building 10 levels in a week challenge from 6 years ago. Oh my god, I'm getting old. I never thought I'd be at the point where I'm efficient enough as a creator to do a crazy challenge like this, so being able to do something like what Dansman did 6 years later makes me feel super accomplished. I also want to give a very special shout out to the creator Antidrifter, a great creator with a somewhat similar style to mine who recently did their own build week challenge. In fact, they did 2 of them, although Antidrifter didn't exactly make every level from scratch every single day. Their build weeks completely re-sparked my interest in Dansman's old challenge and completely motivated me to do this challenge, so this video probably wouldn't exist without theirs. But that's enough yapping. Let's get straight into... Day 1 was the easy 2-star level, and I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to make this level a 9 circles styled level. A very popular style known for constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with difficult wave gameplay, constantly resulting in some of the hardest levels ever like Sonic Wave. So, why don't I just make the easiest one imaginable? Well, that's what I did. And the level got off to kind of an odd start. I didn't really have a set plan for how I wanted this level to look, just that I wanted it to be 9 circles at the drop. I started off with this kind of weird abstract line style. It wasn't really too reminiscent of 9 circles, but I wasn't too worried about it. Surely that wouldn't come back to bite me when it came to decorating the wave, right? Right? The song I chose for level 1 was Boss Fight's remix of Milkshake by Mega Neko. I thought the song sounded really cool and glitchy at the beginning, so I wanted to try to represent that in the decoration. After getting my lines down, I started adding some faint glow and some saw blades, and then started getting some of the finer details down. I added this glitchy feeling trail that appears as the player passes through it, as well as some simple glitchy backgrounds, some additional designs, and a slight glitch shader on everything. Finally, it was time to move on to the drop. I was already 2.5 hours in at this point, which I thought was fine at the time, but I'd later come to realize that I needed to significantly pick up the pace if I wanted to complete this challenge. Unfortunately for me, I was completely oblivious to this at the time, and I continued to spend a full hour making a custom wave trail and a custom wave. The custom wave trail took me long enough to make as it was, but I had to have my friend TwisterDude161 come in and help me make a completely custom wave that correctly rotates with the player at the same time. This was because I had to make the actual wave invisible so that the default wave trail wasn't appearing over my custom one and making it look all weird. But hey, at least it turned out pretty cool, and I even got to add a little smiley face. I finally got started on the wave gameplay, which was actually stupidly easy to make, since I made it all slow speed and gave it this rewinding effect so it kept going backwards. I also decided if this was gonna be a 2-star 9 circles level, I would just make the wave entirely auto so I didn't have to worry about how difficult it was. This gameplay didn't take me too long to make, but it still probably took me a bit too long for how simple it was. Either way, I was quickly off to decorating the wave. After 45 minutes, I had a pretty solid base for the blocks, as long with some simple designs, lines, and glow. And I hated it. Yeah, this is the point in the challenge where I realized that things were not just going to be all fun and games, and I realized this pretty early on. I tried adding this weird drawn line thing with this tool called Allium, a tool that allows you to draw in the Geometry Dash editor and create actual blocks out of it. But it kind of just looked weird and didn't really fit in with the wave at all. So I said screw it. I moved on and I tried to make up for everything in the background. So I made a background, and then I immediately deleted it because it looked terrible. But then I made another background, and that one looked fine, although I'd end up adding to it again later. I still wasn't happy with how the wave was coming out though, so after trying another wave design that failed, I ended up just completely remaking the base design for it. The original design took me a long time to make though, so I still wanted to try to include it, so I ended up adding it on top of what I had as a somewhat subtle effect on top of it. After adding these lightning things around the blocks, I added another layer to the background, and the wave was finally starting to come along. At this point, 4 hours had already passed since I started the wave, and it still wasn't even done. I really needed to focus on getting this part done at this point, so I started fleshing it out with some finer details, like this rewind effect and some air design to fill up space. I normally wouldn't recommend creators throw a bunch of random air design in the air just to fill up space, but when you're on a time crunch like I was, it can really act as a cheat code in making your levels look better. Like I tried with the drawn line thing earlier, I still really wanted this part to somewhat fit in with the first part of the level, so I made the decision to throw in a bunch of green elements along with the rainbow. It was a weird and bold choice, but I think it was actually a great decision in making the level truly come together in the end. I even threw in some extra glitchy elements on the side of the screen, like these electricity particles popping out, and after 5 hours of just building the wave, I was finally ready to move on. To be honest, I already felt defeated at this point. It was only day one, but after a full day of building and nothing clicking, it really started to drain me mentally. By the time I finally got the wave to a point I liked, I had already been live streaming for 7.5 hours that day. It was 8:30 p.m. by now, and I knew that I wanted to be done soon so I could get some good sleep for the night. So I got straight into making the last part of the level. I made this cube part, which essentially just copied the designs from the first part of the level, but added a few extra elements from the wave on top of it, and then I added a very simple fade out ending to the level. It wasn't the prettiest way to end a level, but it was gonna have to work. After doing some final polishing on the level, it was finally time to verify and upload it at 10:30 p.m. Me and my friends spent a few minutes trying to decide on what we were gonna call the level before one of my friends made an amazing recommendation. Android Redux?
Or you call it Italian APK downloader.
Wait, what's that video?
Italian
Okay,
APK
I like that one more.
Oh, so you think this is scary?
Well,
Well, that's because it's corrupted. And it's all glitched. Maybe I should use this to give you a little fright.
I uploaded Italian APK download, named after the old and infamous Geometry Dash hacking channel Italian APK Downloader, and then I was finally able to call it a night after a long day. Okay, well, day one complete. It went fine, I guess. I don't know, I definitely regret going for the 9 circles style on day one. It just was out of my comfort zone, made it really difficult to do. That wave part took me like 5 to 6 hours. Yeah, I was getting really frustrated while making that wave because everything I was trying wasn't looking good, and eventually I got it to a point where I liked what I made, but yeah, it was a struggle. The other parts were fine, honestly, but the level definitely took me a lot longer than I wanted it to. I'm hoping that tomorrow goes a lot smoother for me. I got started a little earlier in the day on day 2, considering that tomorrow would be the XL level and would probably take me the longest out of any level to make. Spoiler alert, I did not finish day 2 a lot sooner. The level got off to a pretty slow start after I didn't learn from my mistakes in day 1 and spent a full hour making a single moon as a part of the background. The song for day 2 is Aether by Geoplex, a really chill and nostalgic song that reminds me a lot of space, so naturally I had to make the level space themed. After that moon took me a million years to make, I spent only a few minutes trying to add some additional backgrounds like stars out of particles, and this nebula I made in particular turned out really nice for how simple it is. I took the colors you'd commonly find in a nebula, being mostly purples and blues, but also sneaking in some yellow, and then I made the colors quickly flash in a loop. After giving that color to some simple blob particles, each new particle that spawns would essentially be one of these random colors, but it wouldn't change it after it spawns in. I loved how this turned out for only being one object, and it's something that I would continuously come back to for the rest of the challenge. A bit over an hour into the stream, I started making the blocks for the first part. I decided to make the gameplay and the blocks at essentially the same time, as the gameplay really just turned out to be a bunch of random structures slowly moving with the player. It's honestly really lazy gameplay, but to be fair, it is pretty hard to make actually interesting 3-star gameplay. Also, the slowly moving blocks was something that a lot of creators did in 2.0, the era where this song was most popular in, so it made sense. That's enough justifying my own laziness though. I kept on adding to the part with some dangerous stars you had to avoid, an effect on the block design, and a few additional polishes like a custom border and some floating rocks. I definitely wouldn't end up reusing this custom border a million other times during this challenge.
Liar, liar, plants for hire.
By the time I was done with the first part, it had taken me nearly 4 hours to finish, which was way longer than I wanted it to take. Frustrated, I told myself that I needed to make the next part way faster, which is exactly what I did. This little intermission part only took me about an hour to make, which was great, because I knew I'd need a lot more time to focus on the drop. After finishing that part, I got a little distracted with a football game going on, where my Detroit Lions would be playing their final game against the Chicago Bears, where they ended up destroying them. Get owned, Twister dude. Although I was a little distracted, I still got started on the drop as fast as I could, where I immediately fell on my face and got completely stuck. I had zero ideas for what I wanted to do, and I got extremely frustrated because of it. It felt like day one's wave part all over again, but even worse this time, so it completely ruined my mood for the rest of the stream. It also doesn't help that my team almost lost, but we don't talk about that. What a lot of people probably don't realize about creating is that it can be really fun and easy to build when you're in a flow state. But when you're not enjoying what you're making and not having fun, it can be nearly impossible to get past that roadblock and build. It's simply an obstacle that I would just have to overcome if I wanted to complete this challenge. I eventually finally got some gameplay down, and for a design, I decided on this simple crystal design, which wasn't just inspired by these 1.9 crystal levels like this one by Funny Game, but also inspired by Super Mario Galaxy's Space Junk Galaxy, one of my favorite games of all time. This gave me the inspiration to call the level Space Junk, which was the only time this entire challenge where I actually decided on a level name before finishing the level. Once I finally got things going, building this part went relatively fine, although I have to say relatively, because this part was definitely rushed and basically ended up just being a TV version of the first part. Like, the level even released with this extremely obvious secret way that I just somehow missed and didn't end up patching until after the project was finished. As the part was nearly done, I thought it still felt pretty empty, so I added some simple effects, as well as another trail of blocks that appeared as you passed them, which actually added a ton to the part. Unfortunately though, I was done with this level. It was actually supposed to be a full part longer, but my motivation was completely gone by this point, and I already had the level at the minute length with a somewhat reasonable part of the song to end on. I decided to hastily call it a night, and I sadly ended up with a level that, while better than I thought it was going to come out, wasn't quite up to my standards fully. Day 2 is complete. Not gonna lie, I'm already kind of exhausted of doing this. It's gonna be hard the next 5 days, isn't it? The start of the day actually went really well. The first 2 parts came like supernaturally to me, except for the planet, which took me an hour to make. But once I hit the drop, it was just over for me. I could not build that for the life of me. I finally got something down, and I'm honestly not very proud of it, but it's something, and I think it turned out okay. Ugh, tomorrow's gonna be the XL level, so... oh boy. Day 3 was easily the scariest day going into it, so I wanted to get it out of the way early into the challenge. Today was the XL level, and for this level, I went with the song Compass by Kubi, a great song by an extremely underrated and talented artist. This was the only level I made where I didn't use the drop of a song, but I thought it was a fair trade-off considering the length of this level. The song does have a drop, but it was a whole other minute past where I ended the level, and I just didn't have the time for that in one day. I wanted to focus on making some really fun gameplay to mask any potentially lacking decoration, which didn't end up being a problem with this level, but was a great strategy that I used for pretty much every level going forward. The layout took me around 2 hours to make, which wasn't amazing pace, but during that time, I was able to make some really fun and engaging hard 5-star gameplay, while also getting ideas for decoration along the way. Going back to the start of the level, I started off by adding these unique sort of glass-looking blocks. I made a bunch of variations in the blocks to, well, make it look more varied, and then I copied those blocks around randomly on all the structures. I also copied all the structures and flipped them upside down and put them under the level. I made them darker and it created this mirror effect. While this effect is really simple, it's super effective and something I've used before, like in my level When It Rains. On the topic of effects I've used before, to help with the emptiness, I added a radial blur trigger with negative size on it, creating an easy parallax that makes the blocks seem like they're three-dimensional and fading into the background. Something I did in my level Soft Scars. I knew that going into today, because of the length of the level, I needed to focus just a little bit less on new and creative designs, and focus more on utilizing what I know to make the best part as fast as I can. This would end up really helping me not get stuck with creative drought like I did the first 2 days in the wave and the drop. While I was happy with this part's design, this type of block design I made was not good for this challenge, especially for today's level when it's XL. Yeah, it looked good, but it took forever to build, which is extremely problematic for the wave part coming up. It was an open wave part where you slowly moved up and up, and the screen zoomed out the further you got into it to match the intensity of the song. I ended up ditching certain smaller variants of the blocks to make the building process faster, which actually ended up working out with how much was on the screen at once. Another thing with this wave were these crystal structures that I added, which would pulse an expanding outline outwards, acting as these beacons of light, helping you travel through a vast land. Including the backgrounds and extra ambience that I added to make the part better, I was super happy with how this part turned out, and after a long time of placing blocks, I was able to move on to the next part. By now, I was already 7 hours into the stream, but I knew the hardest parts to decorate were already out of the way. If the level was only a minute long, I'd already be done by now, and even faster than the first 2 days. But as of right now, I was only halfway done with the level. For this next part with all the ramps, I had a really fun idea for the decoration in this part, and it ended up coming out pretty smoothly. I made this cool effect on the blocks with these animated blocks, as well as the border of the slopes pulsing out to the claps in the song, and some faint glow as well. It was already going well, but it just kept getting better as I made this simple block design inspired by Antidrifter. And before I knew it, I was already adding the final details onto the part. This actually ended up being one of my favorite parts of any of the 7 levels, but I didn't have time to think about that right now. It was already 9:30 p.m. and I still had 2 parts left to do. The next part was a really simple filler bit. Thanks to the song being a bit of an intermission, I was able to make this super quickly and easily before getting to the ending. The design of this part is pretty much just these lines with an additional background. For the last part, I knew that whatever I made here was going to have to be made super quickly, since I was terribly running out of time at this point. So, I copied from myself again. I thought this part would look quite well if it looked similar to my level Waypoint, another XL level I made fairly quickly a while back. So, I made the background a bright blue, like we're high up in the sky, made some simple blocks, added some additional details and particles, and then I called it a day. As much as I wish I had more time to work on the ending to this level, this was the first and last day where I simply just didn't have enough time to make it happen. The day was ending, and at 11:30 p.m., me and my friends came up with the name Weastward and uploaded the level.
Oh, East? I thought you said Weast. See, Weast.
This was the longest stream by a long shot, at a staggering 11.5 hours, but the building process went as smooth as butter. With how well it went, I figured that maybe the rest of the challenge wouldn't be so hard after all. What I didn't know at the time was that day 4 was going to go on to be the hardest day yet. Day 3's over. I am exhausted after building a full 2-minute long level, but I actually feel really good because the level turned out really nicely and I'm really happy with it. So I'm not completely at the point where I'm like, oh, I don't want to build tomorrow, but I have a feeling that after tomorrow it's gonna be rough. I don't know, hopefully tomorrow can be easy. Ideally I would love to make a level at this point in like 6 hours, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Just no more 11-hour streams. Riding the high from how well day 3 went, day 4 got started off super strongly when yesterday's level Westward got featured by RobTop right before starting the stream. So, after starting my stream, I rebeat my own level for the stars, and then I got started on the level for the day. Today's level uses an underrated Water Flame song, the artist responsible for some of Geometry Dash's most popular songs like Geometrical Dominator and Time Machine. This song was called Flyboy and Gabber Girl. The first thing I needed to figure out was what I wanted the level to even look like, since going into today, I knew that this song was the least I had ideas for out of any of the songs I chose for this challenge. I decided that the song reminded me way too much of 1.9 to not make a 1.9 inspired level, but a purely 1.9 level would be way too easy for me to make, so I decided to make a sort of hybrid between Darnock's 1.9 style and my 2.2 style. I spent the first hour making the gameplay for this level, which was harder 6-star, and it ended up being super fun to play. Like I decided yesterday, I needed to make these levels super fun to make up for any potentially lacking decoration, which clearly wasn't a problem yesterday, but it would end up being a problem today. The decoration didn't actually start off too badly though. The blocks I did make felt a little too empty, so I added these weird slope things that rotated in them to fill up some space. Outside of that small adjustment to the blocks, the rest of the part went pretty smoothly. I just had to fill in all the blocks and spikes, add some air decoration, and the first 20 seconds were basically done. All I had to do was add a small background to the first part, and I was already ready to move on to the next. And this is the point where everything started to go downhill. I made a block design which was fine, copied it around a bit, and started adding some saw blades before completely hitting a wall. I just wasn't a fan of how it was looking, and without any ideas of what to add to it, I decided to just take a break. When I came back to it, I tried a few different things, like some area tint to make the blocks change color as I passed them, as well as another one of those area fade trail things I took advantage of in the first 2 days. Unlike those days though, those cheap tricks weren't saving me now. Sure, they added a bit to the part, but the level also kept getting messier and uglier with everything I added to it. Sadly, with the lack of ideas and the lack of time that I had, I knew that I couldn't redo anything at this point, and I unfortunately just had to move on. I had to work with what I had, so I added to the blocks a bit and copied the designs into the spider part. At this point, with how little I liked how the part was looking, building was becoming extremely frustrating. Since I was actively making something that I just didn't like, continuing these designs felt agonizing. Like I mentioned earlier, building can quickly go from super fun to extremely agonizing if you're not enjoying it. But I didn't have a choice. I had to push through, and that's what I did. The only thing that was saving me at this point was my friends in the voice call keeping me entertained.
This one thing. That makes me think we should do a cup-sized tier list.
How do you get a pizza?
How'd you get a pizza?
What is, how did you get a pizza? Why do you keep saying
For a picnic. Gay Luigi? Gay Luigi? Gay Luigi? That's not a Pokemon, that's a Gay Luigi. Whoa! Psh.
Now, did you just do the Bowser fart gif?
I don't know what you're talking about. I think there's a body hanging there. Hi, my name is Carmen Winstead. Oh.
It's time to kick Odie off the table. No Garfield, don't do
No
it.
Garfield, that's our pet dog, Odie.
OD!
What's up, Odie?
What's up, OD?
He's in a coma. He's in a coma. He's in a coma. He's in a coma.
Shut up!
And you call them steamed hams despite the fact they are obviously grilled. But, you know,
I'm sorry I can't do this
one
anymore.
thing I should...
That's reasonable.
By the time I finally pushed through the middle section of the level, I was already 8 full hours into the stream. This was really bad, since I still needed to decorate the full drop, which was the fastest part of the level. On top of that, I had 0 ideas once again. That's when I started doing something that I absolutely hate. I built as lazily as possible. The color scheme? Make it rainbow. The blocks? Make them as simple as I could. I had these ramps that I had no idea how to decorate, so I just kind of threw some random blocks on it for 2 minutes and called it a day. The part still looked empty though, so how could I fill in space? The answer is go back to my 2019 building routes and place a bunch of random pillars down everywhere. While we're at it, let's just copy paste them into the background as well and put a simple particle background on top of it. Then I just spammed some air decoration and arrows and I called it a day. Even though I made this part super lazily, with how much I had to decorate in it with the speed, it still took me a while. At this point, I had been live for almost 10 hours, and all I could think of anymore was being done with the level. I wasn't satisfied with the level at all, but honestly, I didn't care anymore. I just wanted it out. And after quickly coming up with the name Gabberthay, shout out to my non-binary peeps, I uploaded it and immediately ended the stream. I'm gonna be honest, I completely forgot to record last night after ending stream. Yesterday's stream was exhausting. I was hoping that that was gonna take me the least amount of time out of any of the days so far, and it took me the second longest. I'm officially at the point where I already just want to be done with this challenge. I don't want to get on and build anymore. I want to do other things. But day 5 is about to start because I forgot to record last night, so just got to keep moving on, I guess. Hopefully today I can finish today's level in, like, record time. Hopefully. I was on a mission on day 5. After how mentally draining day 4 was, I knew that I wanted to make this level fast. I was going to pull out all the stops, utilizing everything I know to make the best level I could while also making it as quickly and easily as possible. For this level, I was going to build unapologetically me. This level was supposed to be a 7-star, and I went with the song Energy Drink by Virtual Riot, one of my favorite EDM songs of all time. With my love of the song boosting my morals, I very quickly made the first 50% of the level's gameplay and immediately got started on structuring it. I went with a similar multi-sized block design that Westward had, but in a way that was much easier and simpler to execute. It still took a while, but once it was done, I already had all the difficult parts finished. I added that classic mirrored effect, gave it a little pixelate shader and some area tint, filled in some blocks, added some slight ambience in the background, and the part was already done. I was only 2.5 hours into the stream at this point, and the level was already 50% done. On top of that, it was looking great! On a mission to keep this pace going, I wasted no time on getting started on the second part. This part was supposed to be a mix of this part in my own level Fruity Bussy, and this part in the level Dreamer by Funny Game. Once I got the gameplay and outlines finished for the part, I just had to add some glow, a simple effect with the blocks moving out to the beat, and the trail of blocks that appear as you pass them. Then it was already time for the last part. I'd normally say I got right to it, but I may have gotten a little distracted. One of my oldest Geometry Dash friends ever, Smashsphere, joined my stream, and I got a little distracted playing some old levels that he built in. Eventually though, I did finally continue on to the last part, which I was praying would go as easily as the first 2 parts in the level. And thankfully, that's exactly what happened. The gameplay in this part was stupidly simple. Just some green orbs that you hit to the song. I was gonna add some other structures to it, but I figured that would take too much time, and I was not for that today. I was so determined to save time building that I copied the entire structuring of the previous part and made a background out of it for the new part. Funnily enough, this method can actually work shockingly well, and is something I've done in the past in my level When It Rains. It's an idea that I got from the infamous level Every End by Mindcap, which everybody should know at this point. All I did at this point was add a little glow swipe across the screen to add some intensity to the part, and then some other things, like this arrow effect telling you where to hit the next orb, a little laser that comes towards you if you miss the orb, and it was essentially done. I spent an extra 30 minutes polishing the level and adding some smaller details to it, and only 6 hours into the stream, I was already ready to call it finished. I spent a long time trying to come up with a level name, but after eventually coming up with the amazing name Trap Nation, I uploaded the level at 6 PM and ended stream for the night. I was over the moon to be done this early, and actually given the ability to do something with my free time this night for the first time this week. My level Space Junk even got rated an hour after ending the stream. Unfortunately, it only ended up getting star rated, but I wasn't gonna let myself consider this challenge a failure because of that. After all, what's star rated and what's featured is only a matter of RobTop's opinion. Overall though, this day was extremely easy, and a breath of much needed life into this challenge after my motivation was draining so badly. Currently 1:30 PM the next day. I forgot to record again. I also have a slight headache, but despite that, yesterday actually went surprisingly well. The stream was the shortest one yet, which made me really happy. I actually got some free time at the end of the night. And it definitely gave me a much needed boost of extra energy for these last 2 days, which is really good. I was feeling pretty motivated, but now that I'm at my PC and getting ready to stream again, I don't really want to, but we only have 2 days left, so... You would think that after day 5, I would be pumped and roaring to go on day 6, but for some reason, I just could not be bothered. I couldn't be excited that it was the last day because I still had a full day after this one that could potentially be the hardest of the entire week. On top of that, today was the only day outside of day 4 where I really didn't know what I was going to do for the decoration ahead of time. So I kind of just built. I played a few levels before the stream started to try to get my motivation going when I played this level called Burst by Equinox. This gave me a lot of inspiration, so I kind of just went off of that. The level quickly took on another sort of space theme, which I wasn't really planning on doing, but come on, space. The song for today was Veludo by Aaron Music, which is a song I really like, but looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have picked 2 songs to this challenge that remind me so much of outer space. I didn't really think about it at the time though, even though I literally made the boss fight for the level Luchaverse, which is space themed, and uses the same song. Honestly, this day was just weird. Out of any of the days, this one was honestly the most forgetful for me, and it makes sense as to why. Being day 6, my brain was pretty much just on autopilot at this point. I was just building just to build, with not really any ambition behind it. So honestly, I won't spend too much time talking about what I made here. One moment, I was placing down these weird blocks with some stars in the background, and then the other moment, the part was done. Honestly, I really can't remember what building this part was like. I just placed down objects, and it turned out decently. On to the next part. Somebody in my chat really wanted me to make an old-styled swing copter part, so I decided to actually do that, but with a cube. Why? I don't know, I thought it would be funny. So naturally, I got bored and I stopped building for 30 minutes and went and played random levels again. I came back to it though, and I made these 2 space rocks with spikes in them, copy-pasted them around the entire part, added a custom border and some guidance on where to go. Then boom, another part was basically finished. Well, kind of. I ended up adding a bit more to the part later, but I just wanted to move on from it for now. I wasn't having fun making it, and I was ready to start the drop. Of course, I decided to get distracted for another 15 minutes, though, before doing that. This day was supposed to be an insane 8-star, so I wanted to make some exciting and fast-paced gameplay for the drop. I got to work on making it somewhat difficult, but well synced to the song so you could easily sight-read the orb timings. This ended up working out, and I think the gameplay turned out pretty fun for the drop. Decorating this part was just weird, though. In some aspects, I did some fun ideas that I really liked, like these speeding particles to make it feel extra fast, and this audio visualizer.
Say that again?
But for the blocks, yeah, this was probably the laziest I got in the entire challenge. I made the simplest blocks I could, gave them no variation, and just pasted them on every structure. For these empty moments in the ship and the swing, I literally just pasted straight lines of them so you couldn't just fall onto the ground. After adding some indicators to the part, I knew it was still too empty, so I added this flashing swipe effect across the screen that I think turned out super cool. Even though it made the level harder to see, the drop at least had a lot of natural energy behind it now, so I was able to let the laziness off the hook and finish the level, because at this point, I was done. I didn't want to build anymore. I didn't even want to touch Geometry Dash anymore. I just wanted to lay down and stop thinking for the rest of the day. So I did. I spent like 10 minutes on the world's laziest filler ending, and boom, it was done. We ended up coming up with the name Chillverse, and then out of nowhere, I just ended the stream. If you were in the stream 20 minutes before it was done, you wouldn't have thought the level was going to be done so soon, because it really shouldn't have been. I cut a lot of corners with making this level, and even though the stream was longer than yesterday's, that was only because I kept getting distracted. My editor time for this level was at an all-time low for this challenge. I felt honestly ashamed of myself, but at this point, all I could think about was how amazing it was going to feel at the end of the day tomorrow once everything was done. But I couldn't have been prepared for how awesome the end of this challenge was going to be. After ending stream, I dragged my near lifeless body to go get dinner, and then I got a notification. Day 5's level, Trap Nation, got featured, giving me an extra 2 creator points and putting me all the way up to 98! My goal of 100 creator points could finally be achieved with just one more featured level. Then, just an hour later, the unthinkable happened. Chillverse got raided just 2 hours after being uploaded onto the servers, putting me at 99 creator points.
Are you serious right now, bro?
Yeah, so me being so lazy with Chillverse ended up coming back to bite me, since the level only got star rated, which put me at 99 creator points instead of 100. I wasn't too upset though. This meant that no matter what, my next rated level would put me at my goal that I've been working towards for over 5 years. You see, it wasn't just about getting to 100 creator points for me. Ever since 2020, I've been obsessed with getting all the numbers in my stats as high as I possibly could. Whenever one of your stats roll over to a new digit, like 99 to 100, the numbers on your profile get smaller to fit everything on your profile. When I first noticed this, I knew that I wanted those numbers on my profile to be as small as possible. But how small could they really go? As I sat there with 2 creator points to my name, I calculated how high every stat could go, and realized that 27 digits of stats were the highest. But it wouldn't be easy. Over the next 5 years, I'd have to grind up to over 100,000 stars, 100,000 diamonds, 100 secret coins, 10,000 user coins, 1,000 demons, and the hardest of them all, 100 creator points. This was something that over the years, only the top of top grinders could achieve. Mulpan, Mr. Spaghetti, Mindbur, and Zoroa, who eventually got banned. These, to my knowledge, are the only 4 people in the entirety of 2.1 to achieve 27 digits on their profile. But with update 2.2 and the addition of moons to the game, it became anyone's game to become the first person to hit 32 digits with 10,000 moons. Well, unsurprisingly, Mindbur became the first person to hit 32 digits shortly after 10,000 moons became a threshold possible to achieve. This wasn't very surprising, but what was surprising to me is that it would stay this way for a long time to come. Over the next year or so, as I slowly made progress towards my goal of 32 digits, the unthinkable happened. Out of nowhere, Alvaro Paz became the second in the world to achieve 32 digits to their profile. I was super caught off guard by this, because out of everybody on my radar, Alvaro Paz wasn't even on it to hitting max digits. Something that this made me pay more attention to is that RobTop had been raiding way more demons than he had in the past. In fact, we were coming up on 10,000 demons raided in Geometry Dash. Smithy, the top grinder in all of Geometry Dash, was already at over 9,000 demons and isn't showing any plans on slowing down. If I finally wanted to hit this goal of max digits that I've had over the past 5 years, I would need to do it fast before 10,000 demons became possible. I knew that I would likely never hit 10,000 demons in this game, as it's just way too much grinding. I've already beaten every single easy demon in Geometry Dash, and I only have 4,000 demons. So, that's the additional secret reason for me doing this challenge. I needed to finally achieve my longest lasting goal in Geometry Dash, once and for all, before it became too late. Here it was, the final day. 1 day left. 2 levels left from the challenge yet to be rated, and 1 more level to make. This was potentially going to be the hardest day yet, since this was the day I tasked myself with making an easy demon. When it comes to demons, not only can they be a lot harder to get rated, but RobTop holds a lot higher standards to them as well. I knew that today's level would not just have to be great to get featured, but I'd only have 10 hours to do it, considering I had to be somewhere that night, and I started late. So, once again, I knew that I at least had to make it as fun as possible. I wanted to make this a super easy demon that the best players could potentially 1 attempt, and I think I successfully did that. The layout took me 2 hours to make, and just like with Westward, the ideas came flowing in as I was making the gameplay. Thanks to the banger song I used, Warp Speed by Akopa, I didn't struggle with making this gameplay at all. Before I could actually finish this layout though, something incredibly special happened.
Did you have like a beam fall on your head?
Yes! I did! Wait! I just got an ultimate GDBot! I just got an ultimate GDBot notification. What? What? Oh! Oh my god! Oh, it's a creative points!
Oh, dude, you got.
Oh my god! Let's go! I got 101 because it got featured! Oh my god! Dude! Let's go! Oh my god! 100 creative points. Max stat digits, bro. I've had this goal for 6 years, man, probably. I don't know when it was that I started going for max digits. It's been so long. I had done it. After 5 years since I started my mission to get max digits, RobTop featured Gabberthay as I was streaming, putting me to above 100 creator points. In my 11 plus years of playing Geometry Dash, this is probably the greatest thing I've ever accomplished. For this to happen right after I graduated college, becoming the first in my family to do so, as well as just getting my first epic rate about a week before I started this challenge, honestly, 2026 couldn't have gotten off to a better start for me, and I'm so grateful for everyone that allowed that to happen. But I couldn't celebrate too much yet. I still had a challenge to complete. With this still being the start of the final day, I had to kick things right back into full gear to get this done. I finished the layout and started decorating the first part. At first, I didn't really know what I was doing, and that had me worried because the other days where I had no idea what I was doing, those parts didn't really turn out very well. But that's when I remembered. I could just copy myself! I turned the block design into the same one I did for the ramp part in Westward, and the rest just flowed naturally. I added some connector pieces, a custom background, and the part was basically done already. Moving on to the wave, I was originally going to make the blocks look like a slanted version of the ones in the first part, but somebody in the chat told me that I should make a masking effect, where the background is actually the block design, allowing for some really creative things that you normally can't put inside of a block. I decided to put some super quickly moving stars in the mask, and with a simple outline and shadow, the part was already looking really nice. I was using the same color system from the Nebula and Space Junk to make the stars different hues of blue, which I'd go on to use for every part after this. The wave was still too empty at this point, so I added some air decoration, as well as some arrows and general polishing, and not only was the wave part done, but it was one of the best looking parts of this entire challenge. Onto the duel now. I didn't know what to do for the block design going into this, so I just didn't make one. All I did was polished and finalized the structuring, giving it some more depth. Then I copied all the blocks and made it so the color inside the blocks shined as you passed them, creating this really cool sort of glass effect. To keep the idea of this part feeling all shiny, I recreated the same flashing pulses from the drop of Chilverse, and on top of the simple backgrounds I made for this part, the level was looking amazing. I couldn't believe how well this was turning out, especially for the time I had taken on it so far, which was about 8 hours. I finalized the part by adding these arrows that moved to the beat and easily told you where to jump, and then I moved on to the ship part. I was locked in for this level. I hadn't eaten lunch since 6 hours ago, and I was getting really hungry at this point, but there was no time for that. I needed to get this level out like my life depended on it. So, instead of starting a whole new part from scratch, I continued the designs from the dual part and added on to them. I brought back the nebula that worked so well in Space Junk, as well as my classic screen borders that I've done a million times by now in this challenge alone. I decided that I'd bring back the blocks from the first part, as well as making the slanted ones like I initially planned, and before I knew it, the part was already near completion. I don't know how, but I managed to make this part super quickly, and it turned out awesome. At this point, I just had to add some indicators, saw designs, and one extra star effect to the notes of the song, and it was done. After making the filler ending in 5 minutes and another 20 minutes of extra polishing, I had finally completed the challenge. But hey, I can't forget to name the level. So, for a super memorable week down in the books, I decided to call it Special Week. Yeah, so I didn't realize at the time that I actually made a pretty big mistake when naming this level. Apparently, Special Week is the name of a Japanese racehorse, which became super popular after an anime girl was named after it in the game Uma Musume. I swear on everything I know in life that I did not realize this at the time. Like, yeah, I had heard of Uma Musume, but seriously? I named it that because this week was very special to me, but now everybody thinks the level's an Uma Musume reference. Why would they even name a horse Special Week? It literally doesn't even make any sense. Ugh, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Even though I wasn't able to successfully make every level feature-worthy in my eyes, I still don't consider this challenge a failure, and I'm pretty happy with what I did. I managed to make 7 different levels with unique themes in all of them, and I didn't just make lazy RobTop styled levels that are 30 seconds long. Trust me, I've done it before. I could do it again, but that's not fun. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what building should be. Fun. I really enjoy coming up with all these wacky and zany ideas to put in my level, as long as some really fun gameplay for hopefully everybody to enjoy playing. I know I might not be the best creator in Geometry Dash, by any means, but I enjoy what I make, and I have a fun time doing it, which is all that really matters. Plus, this challenge finally helped me achieve my longest goal in all of Geometry Dash. With an epic rate, all achievements, and max digits all under my belt now, I think it's time to move on to bigger and better goals. I want to give a very special thanks to the people that stuck around in my streams the most, being Hogerts, Kisslalix, Terp, and Julian GD Pro 283. These guys, and everyone else that stopped by at any point in my streams, really helped me stay motivated, as I've never done one of these stream marathons like this before. There were a lot of down moments, but everybody joining up and chatting really filled me with extra motivation. I also want to give a big thank you to my friends who stayed in call with me even as I streamed all day, keeping me entertained when I'd otherwise be falling asleep in the editor. You guys are all real ones. And finally, I want to thank you for watching this video. This is the first big video I've made really since I was a kid, and I want to hope that it's going to be the start of something amazing. I have really big plans for 2026, so I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and maybe even turn on notifications so you catch my next upload. You don't have to, of course, but it would mean the world to me. Psst, while you're at it, leave a like on the video too. And hey, if enough people want me to, I'll consider making this a yearly challenge that I do. This is Koopazoo, signing off.